Hey everybody, this is Chris from Zerk Motors in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Today I'm here with a 2007 Ultra Classic Twin Cam. And today I decided to make this video for you because we are taking a look at the cam chain tensioners on the Twin Cam. And I've been seeing a lot of motorcycles that have been coming through that have lots of miles and some pretty worn out cam chain tensioners, which means that there's a lot of people out there that are not following the proper maintenance cycle, and it could lead to a lot of trouble. So purpose of this video is to hopefully provide a little bit of clarification on these cam chain tensioners, kind of what they look like, what they do, maybe some of the signs that there's issues, and generally what's involved in changing them out. So let's get to it. Like I said, this is a 2007 Ultra Classic, and all I've done at this point, the motorcycle came in to get these cam chain tensioners inspected. This particular motorcycle has north of 90,000 miles on it. Being a 2007, it has the hydraulic type cam chain tensioners. Now, where I'm at on the motorcycle is I've just removed the exhaust. I've pulled off the cam cover, and it has exposed one of two timing chains and one tensioner. So for those of you that don't know, this right here is actually bolted to the crank, and we have a chain driven gear system here, which we have a a gear that's connected to one of the cams, or one of the cam shafts, which goes right into the engine. This right here is actually the other camshaft, and what times that camshaft to this one is another chain behind it, which goes around like this, and on the top there is another tensioner that's tensioning that one. So in this example, what we're seeing is just the first cam chain, which is the primary chain and the primary tensioner. So I'm going to use this example a couple times because it's easier. This is another cam plate. This is actually this would be the front tensioner, kind of like the one you're looking at here. And if I were to turn this around, we would see the other tensioner in the back. Now, before I put this down, I do want to take this moment to show you all that this is actually the older style tensioner. This is a spring loaded tensioner. And we've definitely seen some problems with these in the past. Because it's spring loaded, this thing likes to kind of bounce a little bit as the chain moves, and these tensioner pads have been known to break apart. I'm not sure if that's why they've moved along to a different type, but this one doesn't have, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't have a spring. It does have a spring inside, but it is mainly tensioned by hydraulic pressure. So it uses oil pressure to tension up that pad. When it moved to this new style tensioner, I think a lot of people got the wrong idea that now they became maintenance free, and that's definitely not the case. On this particular one I have in front of me, like I said, I did remove the exhaust and I did remove the cover, and I actually did take this tensioner off, so these bolts are loose, just so I can inspect it real quick. And while I can't confirm that these are the original tensioner pads, let's just take these off so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is what this tensioner pad looks like. See if I can zoom in here. There we go. So this thing is worn pretty good. They're definitely not supposed to have any types of grooves in them or anything like that. A new tensioner pad, this is just the tensioner pad itself, is pretty smooth. It should look like this. And it's okay if the tensioner pad does have some wear. It's going to have wear. This is the older type that I showed you earlier, but this tensioner pad wear right here is not terribly deep. It's about 20 to 30,000 miles worth of wear. On these spring type tensioner systems, it is recommended to have them checked and inspected between 20 and 30,000 miles, every 20 and 30,000 miles, because sometimes they'll wear faster, sometimes they'll wear slower, sometimes they'll develop cracks. And if these pads break apart, it's a good chance they're going to get sucked up into the oil pump or the mechanism of the oil pump, which is just going to be trouble all the way around. It's very possible fragments can work their way back to the oil sump and get sucked up into the pump and mess everything up. Plus the cams are here. Fragments can get into the cams. They can mess with the chain. I mean, there's all kinds of problems. So we definitely don't want these. We definitely don't want these pads here to break apart and mess up the engine. Not to mention, if the pad isn't there to tension this chain is going to start flopping around. It certainly could jump timing, bend valves, do whatever, who knows. So really, really important. Now, as far as the one that we pulled off, this one is, like I said, hydraulic. So these are the passageways where the oil goes in. You can't swap out one of these for one of these directly because this one isn't set up to deliver oil to the tensioner pad system. Now what you can do is you can update the cam plate itself. But since this isn't about updating and upgrading, we're going to hold off on that. It is a Screamin' Eagle cam plate upgrade for those of you that are interested. But we're not going to be focused on that. We're just focused on these tensioners and what goes on when they wear. So this little piece right here is fully replaceable. And when it comes to inspection, we pop off this front cover, we take a look at the first one, and in this case, this one is worn and needs to be replaced. So if I'm going to replace this first one, I am definitely going to replace the one in the back. Okay? Now, it doesn't work the opposite way. If I was to inspect this front tensioner pad and it looked good, it doesn't mean that I don't have to inspect the rear one. A lot of people get that messed up too. So some people just pop this cover, take a quick look at the tensioner pad right here. Oh, hey, it looks good, you're good to go. No, that's not the case at all. You have a completely separate tensioner pad on the back, a completely separate chain, and that thing needs to be inspected too. So now that I realize I have a problem, what's the fix? Well, on this particular motorcycle, being 90,000 miles and with no history on whether or not it was done before, I am going to recommend that the pads be replaced as well as the timing chains, because if they're original, they might have some stretch in them. And I'll do a full inspection of the cams and everything else. What is involved actually in the replacement of these cam chain tensioner pads is we do need to remove the gas tank and the seat, as well as the top portion of the rocker box covers, because the rockers have to come out as well as the push rods. And the reason why that all happens is because in order to get those push rods out on a stock twin cam engine, we have to take those top covers off, and then we're also going to remove the roller tappets or roller lifters, depending upon how you call them. Once we remove those roller lifters inside, we will then be able to slide this cam plate out, and then we can continue the inspection and replace that tensioner pad on the back. Now, if that tensioner on the pad on the back is still good, I'm going to still replace it by default because I have no history. Plus, I'm already there anyway, and the front one has to get replaced, so it is going to get replaced as well. I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the teardown of the top end here. I shouldn't say the top end, but the valve covers, so that I can remove this cam plate and inspect the backside. And I'll check back to you when I'm further along. All right, so we finally got that cam plate off, and this is actually the picture that you guys saw while it was still on the motorcycle. This is the area where the original tensioner was that I had first removed, and here we had the two gears and the very first primary chain winding in this area. I told you that there is another chain that connects these two together, and then a tensioner right on the back, which you'll see right now. So when I flip this over, you can now see the secondary chain as well as the tensioner right up here. I haven't taken it off yet, and from the looks of it, it's probably in the same shape as the first one, so it's a good idea that we got back here. Plain and simply, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that tensioner and replace it. I'm also going to replace this timing chain, do a thorough inspection of my bearing surfaces as well as the surfaces of the cams. If everything looks good, I'm going to put it right back together and button everything back up again and send it on the road. I really hope this video helped you guys, and you know what to do if you like it. Thanks a lot.